Welcome to Scale Your Empire, the podcast that elevates your business game. Meet your guides to greatness. Your hosts, Darshan and Rejjn.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another podcast of Scale Your Empire. And we have a very special guest today, all the way from Miami, Florida, Josh Nelson. Josh has an amazing background. So, Josh, I was looking at his LinkedIn, and he's like the king of SEO and digital marketing for almost 15 to 20 years. And since then, he has started a company called Seven-Figure Agency to help other agency owners to reach the highest potential. And since then, believe it or not, he has helped more than 117 agency owners to reach $1 million or more revenue figure. That's an amazing achievement. And he also has agencies in Australia and New Zealand, which is even awesome to hear that as well. So, George, welcome to the show, man. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. Really excited to be here and excited to share.
Awesome.
Welcome to the podcast, Josh. So good to have you here.
My pleasure.
Look, Josh, we're going to start off with, obviously, you're the king of scaling and helping not just by yourself, but helping hundreds of other people do the same thing. So just want to start off with a very simple question. Why do you think I'm sure you talk to a lot of people, and why do you think people don't really scale? Why, most of them stick around as a one-man army or a solopreneur sort of situation. Why do you think people don't really scale to the next level? What are your takes on that?
Yeah, I think it's two things. I think the first would be they've got the wrong model. Like they don't have a business model that's really built to scale. And so in the agency space, my first agency, Develicom, was a web design and hosting company. And we were building websites for a one-time fee. And we had the wrong model. Like we didn't have a vertical we were going after. And I was hustling, but I couldn't really ever get the revenue to scale beyond $10,000 in monthly recurring revenue. And so when I got the right model, I worked for Reach Local for a little bit. I saw them grow to $250 million in annualized revenue. I realized it's about monthly recurring revenue. It's about serving a very particular audience. It's about delivering tangible, measurable results. And so when I shifted that and had the right model, I was able to scale a business from a revenue perspective to multiple seven figures in the digital marketing game. So I think that's the first thing, not having a model that can really scale. The second thing is not understanding the idea about building a team and not understanding that you don't have to do it all yourself. And so in my first agency, I was all about, I'm going to build the website, I'm going to host it, I'm going to sell the client, I'm going to deliver the results. And I was trying to do it all myself because I was wearing the technician hat. Like I knew how to build websites and I knew how to write content. When I started my next business, I had read some of the books like E-Myth Revisited and Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and recognized it's all about building a team and it's about building systems and procedures. And so, this agency was initially, I was going to sell it, but I was going to have a team underneath me that was going to deliver the results, a team that was going to write the content, a team that was going to interface with the client. And that was my intention from the beginning. And of course, we were able to scale without me doing all the work to multiple seven figures in our agency. So I think it really comes down to those two things, having the right model and then having the right mindset around removing yourself from doing all of the things in the business.
Wow, I love that. Having the right model, I love that. Do you want to just go a little bit deep into that? What do you mean by a model? And I'm sure that's what you help other entrepreneurs to do the same. So you want to just go into that, Josh?
Yeah. So, in the most basic terms, right? As a digital marketing agency specifically, you can do almost anything: websites, SEO, pay-per-click, social media, email marketing. And you can do that for just about anybody. You can do that for plumbers, roofers, AC contractors, dentists, and everything in between. What I found the simplest model is really having one particular niche that you focus on. So in our agency, we went from serving everybody to just serving plumbing companies. And instead of trying to do piecemeal work for everybody, recreate a program that's like, this is what we're going to do. Right? In our case, it's a website, SEO, pay-per-click, social media, specifically for plumbing and HVAC companies. And then from there, making sure that it's recurring revenue based, where we're not doing one-off projects, start a client, then start another client, then start another client, and never have any momentum. We decided we're going to sell this monthly recurring package. It started at $1,500 per month. And just knowing one program to one particular industry with a monthly recurring fee greater than $1,000 per month, we were able to simplify the business model and significantly accelerate our growth. And what's cool is now we've taken that same model, we've unpacked it in our book, The Seven-Figure Agency Roadmap, and hundreds of agencies now have followed that process and gone to seven figures and multiple seven figures. Simplification is the key to speed.
Wow, love that. It's one of the things which people hesitate to do is to just narrow in on that one area, and they feel like they're missing out on so many other opportunities. But the fact is that if you narrow in that one thing, all your focus and energy goes into that one thing. And I love that, John. Amazing.
Awesome. Great, Josh. We'll be getting some really good nuggets over there. If you see looking at scaling any business or any agencies, we always face some hurdles and challenges, right? So what are some of the major hurdles and challenges that you faced while scaling your agency, and how did you really overcome them?
Yeah, I think one of the big challenges early was trying to put people in place within the business, but not having the financial resources or the wherewithal to put the right people, right? So we were like, okay, I want to get myself out of account management. I want to get myself out of delivering the work. I need to hire people for that. And not knowing what I didn't know, I put out an ad. I hired the first person that came in. Typically, I would hire someone like me, somebody that's got a big personality, that's very confident, that says all the right things. And I thought that's going to be perfect. And every time I hired that person just like me, they would stumble. They wouldn't do the right work properly. They wouldn't follow through on things. And I started to realize that in hiring, as you scale your operation, you probably don't want somebody exactly like you. You might actually want someone different than you that can fill in the gaps within the organization. And so getting clear on, as we built our organizational chart, getting clear on position descriptions and expectations, and then understanding the psychological profile for the type of person that we need for account management versus SEO versus pay-per-click versus content management made a big difference. And so we hired the wrong people. We dropped the ball on some of our clients. We had to go back to the well and rehire again, and got smarter over time, which really helped us build a solid team that provides great results so that we can scale the business.
Wow, so true. Especially we've done that same mistake as well. Trying to hire someone like us, because we love the interview. They're like, oh, there's so much connection happening. But when you try to bring them on board, it's going to be a disaster. So yeah, that's a really good share as well.
I just want to quickly talk about some of the success stories of your agencies and what you've been able to do. Do you mind sharing maybe one or two of your really successful guys and how you helped them to get there?
I'd love to. So one of my favorite stories is Jim and Brian from Roofer Marketers. They're two guys from Minnesota. They had been part of an agency training program, and it just didn't work out for them. They were a generalist agency. They were struggling to make any money. I think they were both stuck at like $10,000 in revenue, but they had seen what I was doing in my agency, plumbing and HVAC SEO. They saw I published a book. They saw I was niche focused. They saw I had like a specific flow of content that was going on a consistent basis. And they tried to funnel hack me. Like if any of you guys have been to funnel hacking live, but they were like, let me see what Josh is doing. And so when I launched my training program, 7-Figure Agency, they were like, oh, cool, let's just pay this guy and get access to his stuff. And they came into the program and they hit the ground running. Like literally they decided instead of being generalists, they were going to focus on roofers. And they did all the things we teach in our growth system around choosing the niche, positioning yourself as the expert, getting clients to come to you pre-positioned to buy. Long story short, they were able to grow from a startup to over $450,000 in monthly recurring revenue, the dominant force in the roofing industry. And they've actually recently sold that business to Job Nimbus, which is the biggest CRM in the industry. So one of my favorite success stories, because they took the model, they implemented it, they grew to multiple seven figures, and they had the entrepreneurial dream, which is an exit for a multiple seven-figure sale of their agency.
Entrepreneurial dream. I love that because you can have hundreds of people, you can train hundreds of them, but every now and then you find that one or two who really go for it, and that's a pretty cool story. Some of the secrets of scaling. So obviously you are helping other people to scale. So do you mind sharing maybe 2 or 3 things you feel is really important to scale rather than a one-man agency to a $1 million agency? What do you think those are?
So I think when it comes to scale, I wish I had some magical secret, but I really think, first of all, it's about choosing from a mentality perspective that you're going to build a business and not a job, right? I think most of us, we're good at doing the thing. And so we want to do the thing. But if you really want to build a business, you've got to build a team, right? So I think that's the first piece. The second piece is you start with an accountability chart or an organizational chart, which is, all right, what are the functions in this business? Sales, delivery, marketing, account management, finance. And then put those positions that you're going to need as the business grows, as the business scales, and then decide in advance, what are the economics of that? How many clients will I need in order to hire that first account manager? How many clients will I need before we have to hire that second or third pay-per-click or SEO specialist? Really think through the organizational chart, think through the economics from how you price your product and your gross margins so that you can afford to hire those people, and then be really smart about bringing the right people on, right? A bad hire will cost you significantly. I'm a big believer that we want to hire slow, fire fast, have clear job descriptions, have pre-hire assessments that you give so you know what the psychological profile is, and then test somebody before they come into the organization. Give them some type of tangible test, that way they can prove that they have the underlying skills to step in and do the work. And then make sure that you've got an operating system that you're using to ramp those people up and to check with them on a consistent basis. I'm a big fan of EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System, where we've got an accountability chart, we've got a leadership team, everybody's clear on their KPIs, and then we're meeting on an annual basis, quarterly basis, and then on a weekly basis to plug in to get that feedback, solve problems, and keep the company and the operation humming on all cylinders.
Awesome, Josh. I really like how the conversation has a similar pattern where you're stressing more on the team aspect. Okay. And when I see it, agency owners, I can relate to them. They're the one who's doing everything. There's a lot of limiting beliefs in hiring a team. And they always say that, right? Bigger the dream, the more important the team. And it's so important that you're sharing these things. So, Josh, one more thing. When someone is trying to scale an agency, they go through a lot of pitfalls, all right? A lot of challenges and hurdles. So what is that some common pitfalls you're seeing with agency owners, and what can they do to avoid them?
So I think a couple pitfalls. Sometimes we get into a feast and famine rhythm within the business. We'll land a client, and then we'll shift gears to deliver for that client. Our pipeline will dry up, and then we'll finish the project, and then we'll be able to focus on sales and marketing again. I think if you have a niche, you've got a systematized offering, you're not personally involved in delivery, you can be much more consistent with marketing yourself, delivering the results, and having steady growth within the business. So that kind of goes back to having the right model, makes it possible to avoid that particular pitfall within the business. I think the other pitfall, kind of as you get out of a startup phase in your agency to more of like a stability and scale phase within the agency, is too much churn, right? So if you're selling retainer-based clients where they're paying you a monthly fee for what it is that you do, and your churn starts to go above 5, 6, 7% every single month, you're gonna hit a ceiling where regardless of how many clients you sell, you're churning that same amount. And this happened to us at Plumbing and HVAC SEO, where we got really good at selling 7 or 8 clients every single month, but we were churning 8 to 9%. So at a certain point, when we got to about $100,000 a month recurring, we couldn't grow anymore. And we had to really take a hard look at what are we doing from a delivery, from a client management, from a retention perspective that is causing them to churn. And a big pitfall that a lot of agencies make is they think it's all about the results, right? If we do this well, we get the results and we continue to sell, we'll be fine. But sometimes we have to look at the experience we create, the vision that we're casting for the clients, the way we're checking in with those clients on a month-over-month basis to improve that experience. That's going to improve the retention, reduce the churn, and kind of break through that plateau in the agency's growth.
Brilliant. And look, the churn thing is a massive thing for us in the BPO sector as well, because you're 100% right. If you ignore the back end and don't set up the right systems for customer success and the team around that, you can keep adding on clients and you'll be losing clients in the back end as well. So is there anything else you've done to make sure that that doesn't happen other than customer service systems?
So I think there's 3 key things that you can do to improve your retention and reduce your churn. Number 1 is your onboarding, right? The way you come out of the gates with any client will dictate whether they're with you 12 months down the track. I really believe that. I found that to be true. So spend a lot of time on the front end dialing on in a world-class onboarding experience. Number 2 is your communication rhythm. And I think this is true for BPO as it is for agencies. Yes, you're doing work. Yes, you're probably generating results. But if you're not pulsing with the client and showing them the results in a meaningful way, painting the vision for what you're going to do together and keeping them involved in the journey, there's so much competition, right? There's other agencies calling them every day. There's other staffing organizations calling them every day. So you have to have that rhythm. For us in agencies, it's usually a monthly check-in call with the client to review those key metrics and to paint that vision. And then if they don't meet, having a fallback where we shoot a video. Hey, look, here's what we're working on. Here's what we accomplished. Here's what the reports say. That will go a long ways. But number three is having a client success process within the business, right? Because you might be really good at doing that stuff. But if you're going to grow to 30, 40, 100 plus clients, you have to get really good at building up an account management staff, an account management team that gets it, that can carry that forward for you. And so really dialing in, how do you hand off account management where it still gets done at a world-class level? And that's having KPIs, having meeting rhythms, and of course, tracking your churn, right? If you don't measure it, there's no way you can improve it.
Love that. Yeah. Just want to switch gears and get into sales and marketing, client acquisition. Okay. And you are exceptional at that. And I'm sure you're teaching people to do that as well. So in early stages, when it's all about getting more clients, right? Before you even scale your team, before you even get more staff, what are your thoughts on getting, especially for an agency, to get clients in the early days?
Yeah, so I really believe you want to take a multi-channel approach. And if you're in a singular niche like plumbing or roofing or AC repair, whatever it is, you can really go deep. So I think, first of all, you're going to need to get a database of prospects that you can reach out to and put into a database. After that, you want to make sure that you're putting out content. And I'm a big fan of doing one webinar per month and one podcast interview like this per month. That way, that database that you have, you can nurture them with value. Hey, I'm going to be doing this training on this particular topic, how to get ranked for the most important plumbing keywords. And you send that out to them via email and you make them an offer for an appointment. Or that same month and a different day, you're interviewing someone successful in their industry on what they've done, how they've grown, how they've succeeded. And there's a million things you can do to market your agency or your business. But if you did that, you got a nice, tight, clear database. Maybe you join the National Association and then you nurture it with webinars and podcast interviews. And then you load them into a custom audience on Facebook where you're basically putting out your best content and you're inviting them to schedule a next step with you. I find that combination of marketing and outreach will fill the funnel and have clients coming in on a pretty consistent basis.
Amazing, Josh. I really like what you talked about, the nurturing sequence, because most people don't focus on that. They're always trying to get new leads, but you already might have so much of leads in your database. What are you doing to nurture them? What are you trying to give them more information? That's been really a big takeaway. So just we've been talking a lot on this podcast about the importance of having a team for agency owners, all right, and building a team. So tell us a bit more, let's go a bit deeper over there. What are some of the strategies, some of the tips that you have when it comes to hiring and building a team and leading and managing a team?
Yeah, so big key for me, as you build the team, it starts with the accountability chart, the organization chart. Then it's clear job descriptions. What are the roles that you're looking to fill for? What are those expectations? And then as you're hiring, what I found is I like to have a couple of things done in advance to help me vet who's a good candidate versus a bad candidate. So first of all, when they apply, and let's say you put a job out for whatever it is, account manager, PPC director, you're going to get flooded with responses. I like to have an automation that then says, hey, thanks so much for your application. We've got a video-based interview process. If you could, click here and record a video, right? That way, usually only like 10% of the people that get that message take the next step. And you can use Video Ask for this. You can do it directly on Indeed. I'm not sure what hiring platforms you guys use, but when I get 10% of the people that shooting video, I get to hear what their voice sounds like. I get to see what their backdrop looks like. Are they professional? Are they articulate? And it takes a lot of applicants down to a smaller pool, which makes it very easy for shortlisting candidates. From there, I want to make sure that I give them pre-hire assessments to make sure they're a good fit. So Colby for me is one of the assessments I give to every candidate. That way I can see, are they high follow through? Are they high fact find? Are they high quick start? I'm always looking for high follow through because most entrepreneurs are high quick start, but low follow through. So you want to counterbalance that with high follow through people. And then a DISC assessment helps you get a sense. Are they dominant? Are they, the conscientious? Are they the kind of person that's going to fit into the role? For a salesperson, for an account manager, we want relatively high I and relatively high D personality profile. So understanding those tests that we can give in advance and then giving them some type of assessment that they can do to show that they understand how to do the job. So if we're hiring a web developer, we might pay them to build a website in advance, like flesh this out, show me that you can do this job. If it's an account manager, I might have them jump on a monthly call with me and review a mock report and show me that they can be articulate, that they can understand the reporting. That way we know what we're getting in advance. So that's the hiring, that's the vetting. Really important that most agencies miss as they grow and scale their team is onboarding. Make sure that you onboard the people in a very professional way. They're clear on their job, they meet the team, they know the tools. They're clear on how to hit the ground running within the organization. Just like you do a world-class job onboarding new clients, you got to have a world-class process to onboard your team members, whether they're virtual, whether they're international, whether they're US-based and working next to you in an actual office. You need to treat them all the same, right? They should be treated with respect. They should be added to the team, and they should be onboarded with kit gloves. And then you've got to have that operating system where you didn't just hire them and say, hey, I hope you figured it out, but where they've got a place to check in on a consistent basis. And again, a weekly rhythm and a team stand-up can go a long ways towards getting the right people and keeping them on board doing a great job for your clients.
Wow. Josh, there's so much effort and things involved in the beginning, all right? And now I know why it takes so much things to scale an agency, all right? And we are a firm believer in using a different personality profiling as well. We do use disc profiling, and that works wonders for us. When we know what are the right people at the right seat, that's exactly what we are doing, making sure by making them go through a profile assessment.
So I just also want to touch on your building culture when we're talking people and hiring. I saw a video of you and your team on LinkedIn where I think you were setting up for a new event or something. And I could just tell that everybody was switched on, ready to rock and roll. They had high energy. So how do you build a team like that?
I think it's about having clear vision that the entire team knows and is bought in around, right? Clear vision. Hey, we're on a mission to accomplish this. In plumbing and HVAC SEO, we're on a mission to help 1,000 plumbing and HVAC companies triple their sales over the next 10 years. Right. So they're clear on that, treating everybody with respect, having core values that everybody knows. And then on your meeting rhythm, as you get together as a team, sharing those core values, shouting out team members that exhibit those core values. I think that creates a great culture. And we now run a completely virtual team for both businesses. Like I'm working out of a home office. My team works internationally and nationally from their place at home. And so there's ways that you can create a positive culture with how you meet on Zoom, with how you celebrate progress, with games and experiences that you do via Zoom. That's something we've added over the last year that's had a big impact. In a live office, you go to lunch and everybody has drinks and you get to know each other. And there's kind of like those just fun experiences that you have. Harder to replicate that in a virtual experience, but it can be done, right? No reason you guys can't all get together and do an escape room or get together and play a game and create that camaraderie. Friendships and relationships are developed, not necessarily in the work time, but in the play time that you have between work.
Love that. There's a specific art to that, right? It's scaling a business is more like you can have EOS or scaling up models or anything. That's more like a system, but culture is more of an art to that as a leader, and it comes from within. Josh, you touched on having an offshore team and even your local team working from home. And a lot of entrepreneurs they're not sure if that's actually going to work or not, right? Especially the offshore teams. And you have multiple offshore members. So what are your thoughts on that? And how do you actually manage them from where they are?
So I come from a place of, I was that way. We had an office in Doral, which is right in Miami. And there was 30 employees that came to that office every day. And it was like, if I can't see you and rub elbows with you, there's no way I can expect you to be productive. Yeah. And so it was a big mind shift for me to think, well, how can I hire people in the Philippines? How can I hire people in Pakistan? How can I hire outside of the area? And what I found was, first of all, there are exceptionally talented people outside of my local area. What I actually found was I could get better talent at a lower cost and people that were willing to stay in that position long term. We had a revolving door at our office in Miami. We could get some really smart people. We could get them set up, but US-based talent typically is always moving up that ladder, right? So they're going to move from your position to another position and be out the door. And we were constantly rehiring. What we found was we could find some great experienced people internationally that loved the opportunity to work with our company and saw not just like let's see how this goes for the next couple of years, but saw a career path within our organization where they would stay for the long term. And so as I started to understand that, and we really had EOS dialed in with our meeting rhythms, I got more and more comfortable hiring international talent. And now I believe I don't care where you are, I'm going to go and find the best talent for the position I'm looking to fill And whether that's Pakistan or India or Philippines or somewhere else, we love to know that talent's out there and they can and will plug in and stick with us long term if we treat them right.
100%. And tapping into that world talent is so critical for businesses these days. Gosh.
Yeah, it's so good that you were able to overcome that mindset shift, Josh. All right, I believe that that's the biggest one that usually holds most of the entrepreneurs back, where they're not even aware that it's just a mindset thing. That you, like how you said, you need to rub the shoulders with them. They need to be in close proximity to you. But the world has changed so much. It's not all the case. Just a quick segue as well. All right, we can see a lot of agencies want to scale and they want to get bigger as well. But the challenge sometimes they have it in their mind is, if I grow big, my service quality will be affected. All right, I would rather just remain small. I would rather be a boutique agency. All right, and maintain this. So what are some of your tips and strategies for those people who can scale, but at the same time maintain that quality of service?
Yeah, it is a big challenge, right? As you start to hire people, if you don't have the right systems and the right people, your quality will start to erode. And so what I would say is, first of all, recognize there are people better at whatever it is that you're doing than you, right? There's people that play at what you have to work at. So you need to find those people that can elevate your organization and not bring it down. So hiring the right people is critical to this process. But second to that is making sure you've got the systems and procedures in place that says, hey, when I get the client, these are the steps. This is who's going to do it. This is the deadline. Ideally, having a project coordinator that can play QB, hold the deadlines, hold the timeframes, and manage that quality control process. Usually, you're going to have to follow an 10-80-10 process, which is when you hire that new person, when you hire that new employee, you can't just abdicate the responsibility. Hey, I gave you a job description. Hopefully, you know what you're doing. And then you give them a couple weeks and they fail. And you're like, oh, I tried to outsource this or I tried to hire for this and it couldn't be done. Right? In those early days, you have to train them and then you've got to give them 10%. You're going to build the first 10%. Here's how it's going to get done. Here's how it's going to happen. Here's what you need to do. Let them go and do the other 80% where they actually do the work. And then you come back for the last 10%. Double check it. Is it right? Give them the feedback that they need so that they can improve. And over time, you can really step out of it. But it's mission critical. Find people that play at what you have to work at. And then understand there's a development process before you can truly hand off the work. But it doesn't mean you're doing 100%. It means you're doing 20%, the first 10 and the last 10.
Amazing, Josh. That's a very important part of the puzzle that you mentioned, all right, where you will have to spend some time in the beginning with them, okay? There's a massive difference between abdication and delegation. This is where I see sometimes entrepreneurs struggle. They're like, okay, I'm going to hire this person. There you go. These are the things. You go do it. And after some time, it doesn't work. All right. So, yeah, it's really important that you covered this concept.
Absolutely.
George, we could speak things, talking to you forever, man. This has been an awesome chat, but maybe a last couple of questions. One of the things we want to touch on is leadership. As you know, we can talk about sales and everything else, but eventually as a business owner, he or she grows as a leader. That's when really scale happens, right? So what about yourself? Do you want to just talk about your journey as a leader, especially helping even other seven-figure agency owners? What are your thoughts on that?
So my philosophy on leadership, there's kind of two ways to look at it, right? There's one that the leader is at the back whipping the team. It's like, go, let's get this done. And the other philosophy is the leader is the person at the front, kind of leading the charge and kind of carrying the team forward. I like to believe that I'm more of that leading the charge style leader. I really think that as your business grows and as your business scales, you have to recognize as the leader in the business, your responsibility is to take care of the team, right? Because the team is going to take care of the clients, right? Those clients that we deliver for, and those clients are going to take care of the business, which ultimately takes care of the owner, right? Because all the money from the business and the profits go that way. And so a lot of us think, my main responsibility has to be to serve these clients and kind of do this work. But to truly scale and be a great leader, you got to recognize your number one priority is to serve the team, right? That's your focus. Serve the team. The team's going to take care of the clients. The client's going to take care of the business.
Beautiful. It's happened to me as well. And I'm sure most entrepreneurs, you start building a team and you're leading from the front. And then after a while, you think you're the king of, the leader or whatever, and you start go behind, and then you realize, oh man, I stuffed up, and you have to go back in the front again. So I love that 100%. I agree with that. Yeah.
Josh, really love your energy. All right. This podcast has been like, I'm almost drinking like a Red Bull. Okay. So tell us a bit about
Yeah.
it. Like, where do you get this much passion, this much energy from? Because that's very infectious, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Really amazing. So any final words that you have for aspiring entrepreneurs, business owners? They want to get started. They want to scale. All right. Any final words of wisdom?
Yeah, I would say, be a student of the game, right? The place where any growth happens is in learning, right? And I believe you should have an unlimited budget for growth, right? And so if you need a coach, if you need a mentor, if you need a book, if you need a course, if you need a seminar, learn, invest in your development, and then take massive action, right? The agencies that grow to 7 figures and multiple 7 figures, they're big time students of the game. They take immediate massive action. And then they look for feedback. They're like, okay, what's working, what's not working, make adjustments, and then keep taking massive action until they get the outcome that they're after. The only way you fail in business, in life, is if you stop taking that massive action and you give up.
So true.
Yeah. So Josh, before we finish up, where can people find you? I know you're pretty active on LinkedIn. I follow you on LinkedIn. Is there any other channels they can find you, or do you have any offer for them, especially agency owners?
Absolutely. I say that the best place would be on Instagram. If you're an Instagram person, go to Instagram at Josh Nelson Coach. You can find me there. I post daily kind of my latest ideas and thoughts on how to grow the digital marketing agency. If you'd like to get a copy of my book, The 7-Figure Agency Roadmap, where I lay out the entire roadmap on how to grow your agency to 7 figures and beyond over the next 12 to 24 months, you can get that at 7figureagency.com.
Putting those in our notes here as well, Josh. And so cool, man. It's only 6:30 a.m. and I am fired up for the day after talking to you, Josh. So thank you for that. And probably we'll have you another time back on our talk another time. There's a lot more things we want to talk to you, but yeah, thank you for coming on today. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. Let's go, guys.
Thanks for listening to Scale Your Empire. Help spread the wisdom by liking and sharing this podcast. And we'd love to hear your views in the comments. Now, go out there, take action, and elevate your empire.